All right, our next and final question is: what is the most underrated need for the Jets this offseason? And Paul, I want to start with you because you are the resident masochist. I mean, Jets fan. Um, so yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you. I am honored to take the mantle here for first place.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing I'll say is, they got a lot of needs, obviously, when you got 4 wins on the season. I mean, we could go all day. But I would say a super underrated one was highlighted by what the Bengals did to the Baltimore Ravens. And what I saw from there is, Joe Burrow's got all kinds of toys, and Zach Wilson will be hoping for that in a belated sense under the Christmas tree is T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon, CJ Uzama even. They got talent all over the place. I think that the underrated need for the Jets is wide receiver. On the surface, you would say, what? Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Denzel Mims? I don't know about that one. But the point is that you would say on the surface, the wide receivers seem pretty good. But I would say for a young quarterback, you can never have enough weapons. So the Jets have 2 first-round picks in the upcoming 2022 NFL draft. Thank you, Seattle. And I would say with that Seattle first rounder, I would heavily be considering one of those talented, juicy, delectable wide receivers. Drake London, perhaps. Jameson Williams. Who knows? There are so many guys out there that I would be interested in. I think it is the most underrated need. More weapons for Zach Wilson is always a good thing. And I think Elijah Moore is a budding star, and Corey Davis had an uncharacteristic year. He's got to bounce back next year. I think more wide receiver help would be much needed and much underrated for the New York Jets.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, especially if, like we talked about before, if they lose Jamison Crowder. What about you, Samuel?
I have to agree with Paul. There's so many needs that a lot of Jets fans already know about those needs. Corner. Even though I've seen a lot of great things out of Bryce Hall, and even Pinnock, on Sunday looked really good. But I got to say, wide receiver is a need for the Jets. And look, I will counter with Paul. I think Corey Davis had a better year than Jets fans think. If you look at the stats, he did look out of sorts in games, but you're with a rookie quarterback, that can happen. You still have another 2 years with this deal. He looked tremendous in Tennessee. I expect that to happen next year. But once you lose those 2 guys, Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, you see a drop-off. You see drop-offs like that with mostly any team. So, you have Braxton Berrios, all these guys, Keelan Cole, that are like 5s or 6s on certain teams, maybe 4 for Berrios, if you're being nice. But I got to say, once Jameson Williams is around that range for the Jets, you go grab him. If you have that Seattle Seahawks pick, I know that they need defense badly for the Jets, but look, Paul hit it right in the head. You need weapons for your young quarterback. You already have the running backs. And you can still get guys, in other areas in free agency. But, a lot, you're looking at these Justin Jeffersons, Jalen Waddles, Jamar Chases, man. It's just, you can't go wrong with these guys, man. And if you just get one of them, you have Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, and you can still keep Berrios, or maybe you still have Keelan Cole for another year. But man, that would be such a great improvement that you haven't been seeing in previous years with Sam Darnold, with no-name wide receivers after Robbie Anderson. So and obviously you're going to lose Jameson Crowder most likely. So you go and grab a wide receiver. I would not be opposed to it. And if you don't do it in the first round, do it in the second round. And there's always some guys that are available in the second round for wide receivers, and I think that's what they should do.
And what about you, Lorenzo?
Now, I think it was about a month ago I mentioned Derek Stingley as my top need for the Jets at corner. Well, I'm still a believer that the Jets can still get Stingley, but I will say this, and this is my most underrated need for the Jets, but I'm only saying this on the fact that if he's available, I say take him. Kayvon Thibodeau. Here's the reason why I say that. The fact that Robert Saleh, being a defensive guy, being the guy who coached the Nick Bosa, being the guy who also coached Eric Armstead, who started at Oregon, to me, it's it could be a match made in heaven for Robert Saleh. Get a guy from the Ducks, get a guy who's like Mr. All Everything in high school, and then he lived up to the expectations at Oregon, and then you put him in the position where he could go after Mac Jones, Tua Tagovailoa, all those guys. to me, it's like that Robert Saleh having a freak of nature pass rusher that could help the Jets immensely.
Yeah, I guess I would ask, isn't edge rusher like one of their like most well-known needs though?
There's so many needs. I mean, wide receiver. I mean, I agree with the receivers. I mean, Jamison Crowder possibly might be a 49er. I mean, might be playing in the NFC. I don't want to say tight end because I mean Paul loves Dustin Kill, so it's like I'm gonna avoid tight end.
No, Dustin Keller.
Yeah. I'm not gonna do any killer slander, but yeah.
They got Carl Lawson, so I mean they're gonna have him next year. So Carl Lawson, and I did say in a previous broadcast them getting Hassan Reddick if they were to go the edge rusher route in free agency, so they could do that too.
Well, for me, honestly, man, it's defensive tackle. I think that is their most underrated need. If you look at where they are right now, stopping the run, only the Steelers have given up more yards on the ground in the NFL. They have been gashed up the middle running the football, and they have to get more stout at the point of attack. And I mean, we've seen over the years how the presence of one, block absorbing guy in the middle, or two, depending on what kind of system you're running, one block absorbing guy in the middle of a defensive line can change the whole way that a team defends the run. And I think that the Jets are missing that kind of a presence, clearly, because of how the people are running the ball on them consistently. So for me, I think it's defensive tackle. A lot of times that's not the sexiest pick. People are like, defensive tackles. Yeah, I guess, I don't know. Maybe Albert Hainsworth is the one who ruined that for everybody. Because as of right now, the crazy thing is if you look at CBS Sports' most recent mock draft, there is not a single, I think the only defensive tackle that they have going in the first round is Georgia's Jordan Davis, 6'6", 330 pounds. He's the only one that is tabbed to be drafted in the first round. So this does not appear to be, at least on paper, a super strong draft for interior defensive linemen. But that doesn't mean it's still not the Jets' most underrated need. So that would be my answer to that question.
Brian, just a quick follow-up is I think you're right. I think that is obviously a super underrated need. The rush defense would think that it's obvious, but it's really not with all the bodies they have. I want to put you on the spot here. So the draft, obviously, it seems like with 2 top 10 picks, that's not going to happen. But is there a free agent? Is there someone that fits the bill? I agree. It is a massively underrated need. They're probably going to let Foley Fatukasi go. The money's going to be too rich. So who is a guy that could be available in free agency that could be that fit for the Jets as a run-stuffing, hog-molly, nasty defensive tackle in the trenches? Give me your Vince Wilfork, okay? Your Albert Hainsworth pre-stomping on someone.
Not Albert Hainsworth. Anybody but Albert. Albert ruined it for everyone. Like,
that's what I'm looking for. That nasty.
Albert Hainsworth was the guy who just simply, for all defensive tackles, I'm not even sure that we've ever heard of another defensive tackle prospect since then who people look at and say, oh, well, this guy could be, he could be this or he could be that. I don't think we've seen that yet. But, there is somebody who could become a free agent after this season. There is a potential out. We'll see how it goes. He's struggled to stay on the field a bit. But Star Lotulelei is playing for the Buffalo Bills right now.
Yeah.
He has an out after this year and can become a free agent, because I'm not sure that the Jets are going to want to throw a ton of money there. I think they would more or less like to go the draft route to find a difference maker, because they've got an opportunity to watch Christian Barmore for the Patriots. So I have seen him twice. He's made a really big impact on the interior defensive line. He's coming up on setting a record for most QB pressures for a rookie interior defensive lineman this year. He's had a really big impact on run and pass defense. So I think they would be more apt to go to fill that need in the draft than they would be through free agency.
I also want to add too, and I did mention you want to go the free agent routes, and also staying on the topic. I know he's more of a nose, but I did mention his name about a month ago. and it kind of blew Paul away because his name is a mouthful. Sebastian Joseph Day.
Night.
So like I don't know what the situation is with the Rams with whether or not they want to actually re-sign him to a mega deal, especially since they brought in Von Miller, Odell Beckham, all these high-priced free agents. But he is due to be a free agent for 2022. And as I mentioned before, he is a New Jersey guy. He played at Rutgers. He grew up in what do you call the dirty Jers. So, maybe he could be somebody of value. The problem is he's still young. He's still –
what's his name again?
Sebastian Joseph Day.
Just call him SJD.
Bash.
And I got another one more name for you before we bounce out of here.
Okay.
Who is a little up there in age, but still very productive when healthy. Chicago Bears offensive tackle Akeem Hicks is a free agent.
Ooh, I love Akeem Hicks. Okay.
And Akeem Hicks is a big, nasty individual on the defensive line. Khalil Mack would attest to that defensively, they're not the same when Akeem is not playing. So, but Sebastian Joseph Day is listed as the number one guy at the number one free agent interior defensive lineman by multiple publications, including the Pro Football Network. So it's interesting. But Akeem Hicks is on that list as well. So just a few things for you guys, for you long-suffering Jet fans out there. Keep it churning.
So Paul, I have one more name for you. He's on the 49ers, and he does have that tie-in to Robert Saleh. Maurice Hurst. Maurice Hurst kind of got lost in
Michigan. Yes.
Yeah, Maurice Hurst kind of got lost in the defensive line shuffle for the 49ers. He's another UFA for next season. So, Hurst being a guy who, he probably knows Saleh's system, probably be a good fit as well, especially if they don't get Bash.